Welcome to a new daily top Askreddit video. Today's topic:
people who work in morgues or with the dead. What is the creepiest thing you've witnessed? Sometimes when people have died, and we turn them over to clean and dress them, they still have air in their lungs and will make grunting noises when moved. Scared the crap out of me, the first time I experienced it. My grandpa had a related experience in Vietnam. He was helping wash and prepare bodies for transport home under the direction of the coroner, who had warned him about the bodies making noises when moved. After a bit, Grandpa asked the coroner how the body he was washing could cry. The coroner repeated the lecture about air being pushed out and Grandpa said that he got that part. But how did that form tears? He said things got very busy after that. Grandpa's assigned corpse was not actually dead, just suffering a lot of blood loss and very very cold. Dude got 5 liters of blood, some of it from my grandpa, and then he flew home to spend the rest of the war recovering. Imagine fucking laying there as somebody prepares you thinking you're a damn corpse. I'd cry too. I gave my husband CPR when he passed away and I swear he said love when the air escaped like he was trying to tell me one last time that he loved me. And I swear he said love then. That is the indisputable truth, and all of us here will vouch for it. Question it no longer. Peace. Honestly, it might really be what happened. When my grandma passed away, she had a stroke that morning and was rushed to the ER. And my grandpa went with her. My father lived abroad and I called him to tell him that she had had a stroke and he needed to come ASAP. So my father drove there and when he arrived in the evening, we went together to the hospital. The plan was that he'd take over watching over my grandma and my grandpa who'd been there all day would come back home with me to get some rest. Well, we hadn't even left the hospital grounds yet that my father came running behind us saying, "She's going." And in that situation you know exactly what this means. Indeed, by the time we walked hurriedly back to her bed, the doctor told us that they wouldn't attempt to resuscitate her as she indeed had passed away. Considering how this happened suddenly, as she'd been in critical but stable state all day, we're certain that in whatever fragment of consciousness she still had, she was holding on so that she could see my father one last time. And once she did, she let herself go. I wouldn't be surprised if in your case, in whatever fragments of consciousness your husband still had, his last words indeed were that he loved you. When my cousin died, 28, I lived next door to him. So his GF came to my house screaming that he was dead. I was 25 at the time and went into his room and yep, he was dead. I tried CPR just in case while his GF called 911. Now I have never done CPR before on someone, I have only done the regular certification training. So I do a couple rounds of breathing then chest compressions, and suddenly he started groaning. I started crying thinking that somehow I had brought him back. What I was never told in certification was that the air will come back out and make a groaning noise. Yeah, it fucked me up for a while as he was my cousin and best friend. And just thinking that somehow I was able to get him back only to lose him again, man. That just got to me. Edit. I just wanted to thank everyone for the kindness that has been shown. To answer a few questions about what happened, he died from a heart attack. When the doctor met with the family at the hospital we were told he had been dead for a while. Luckily he had died in his sleep, so there is at least that. He never messed with hard drugs but did drink heavily. I have had training several times and also knew the chance of survival were low. I guess that is why the groan he gave had me surprised, relived or whatever you could call it. Over the years I have been trained by different people. None of them mentioned that you could force air out and cause a noise such as a groan. Of course last time I recertified I was told to just do compressions. I will say if available please take CPR and first aid classes from an instructor. Do this especially if you have small children. My course covered infant choking and how to dislodge the foreign object. It will come in handy. When my first son had something caught in his throat, luckily my wife was there and she was ex-EMT. So she was able to get it cleared quick. My neighbor came over one night and told me that my dog had died in his backyard. I went to go get her, and when I picked her up, the air in her lungs came out in a moan. For one awful second there, I thought she was still alive, and was going to rush her to the vet. Then I realized what the sound was, and my heart broke all over again. One of the decedent's grandsons faked a breakdown over the casket. He stole all her jewelry. Didn't take long to figure out and a large brawl broke out. Jewelry was retrieved. 2 weeks later grandson turns up needing to be processed and buried. Creepy as hell. Edit for eating shoots and leaves. IYKYK. Damn, if only he could have paid off that debt collector. Maybe if he had waited a couple days, they would have reused the jewelry on him. I worked at a funeral home for quite a while. When I first started, about a month in, I was working a holiday weekend. Only people working were the transport guys and me. They came to drop off a body and went right back out. I thought they were still there and needed to ask a question. I walked into the embalming area and this dude was sitting up on the gurney looking right at me when I opened the door and it literally made me pee a little in fright. Turns out the transport guys picked up the body from an area hospital. He'd passed away while in a slightly reclining position and rigor had set in. They couldn't flatten him out. Still the scariest moment in my career, even if I got a laugh out of it later. You know they bolted like that on purpose. Exclamation mark. Exclamation mark. There's no way you pass up an opportunity like that.